Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared. My lovely wife Kara's at work. And in this video, I am testing basically 5 fixed blade knives, a couple smaller ones, and then a couple full-size fixed blades before I return them to the owner. I did take them out, so let's just get to the video and I will start voicing over. What's up, guys? So I'm out here hiking on a trail right now, about to test out some fixed blades. I got a few of them with me. I'm gonna see how they perform in different tasks, something, just the way you would use them for either building shelter, making traps, so on and so forth. So let's see how they do. So this is the first one that I tested. This is a USA made tops knife, TSK25 Micarta handles. Well done, Micarta. I do like the Micarta. Let's show a little bit of it in action. Now, this knife, the problem I have with it, because let me just say, it does work, obviously, as a small fixed blade. It's more or less like a small EDC fixed blade, more than like a camping fixed blade or anything else other than just an EDC blade. I mean, obviously, if you already have a larger knife as your fixed blade camping, you can always use this for smaller tasks. But the problem that I have with it is that the blade is, 2.5 inches. But the handle is basically 2.5 inches too. It's a 2.5 finger knife for me. So I can't get a real purchase on this knife at all. I just really can't. Now, if there was a choil here, I could go up over it. Now, wearing gloves, I had no problem going over the blade. You've seen the way I was using it in the video. I was basically over the top of it like this. But I would mostly see this as a fixed blade using it like this, but you can get some tasks done with it if you have gloves on. But this is more or less a knife you use like this. The retention on the sheath is really good. And Tops makes incredibly well-made knives. No issue with the quality or anything. It's just more or less the size of the handle for me. Nice thick spine. It definitely does good for drilling holes and stuff like that. It's pretty thick behind the edge. I think it was originally a Scandi grind, and the owner put an edge on it, which actually looks really good and worked just fine. It actually held up pretty good. So good job. And also I want to thank Timbo for loaning me all these knives. One knife is not his, but all the rest of them are. Thank you, Timbo. He has supported us since the beginning of our channel, and I really can't thank him enough. Thank you, bud. And also, thank you for always letting me use the knives. And, he's definitely a knife user, so he has no problem with me using his knives. Let's get to the next knife. Now, the next knife is a Mora. Now, most of these knives I've already cleaned up. This one I haven't, so I'm going to clean it up just a bit really quick. I have some spray here to clean these blades off. I actually made this stuff. It's a hand sanitizer. Actually, no addresses on here. It's a hand sanitizer that I make at the place I work at. It actually is made with peroxide and a few other things, but it seems to work really good, just as good as alcohol. And yeah, so I've been using it lately, and yeah, it works really good. I'm gonna have to strop this one, but this one worked really good. I love the thickness of the handle. Let's get to the video of me using it, and then we'll come back and talk about it. So the thickness of the handle, man, it just really fits your hand with gloves or without. And you can see I'm in winter conditions, so everything is very cold. Not only cold, it's windy, everything's frozen. It's not the greatest conditions to go out and enjoy bushcraft, but it is what it is. Nice thick spine here. This is not a thin spine by no means, and it is another Scandi grind. And this Scandi grind, man, it's really sharp, or at least it was. It's got a little bit of wear to it, quite a bit of wear, but I'll tune that up before I send it back. And it worked great. I mean, there are lots of videos on these knives being used, and I can't be more impressed with a fixed blade for bushcraft. It just works in all grips. I love the neutral grip, and then the palm swell just really fits your hand, and it feels tough. That's another thing. This thing feels like something I could pry with, scrape with, cut with, obviously, light chopping. It works so good. It is a full tang. You can see the tang coming out here. You can put a lanyard hole in. This is a rubberized grip, but it's a hard rubberized grip. The edge is pretty thick, but most Scandi grinds are, so no problem there. Has a nice straight spine for striking a ferro rod if you want to. Definitely won't have no problem with that. I mean, it's pretty sharp. Definitely pretty sharp. So yeah, very, very awesome. Very impressed with this. And then the sheath is also pretty awesome. Carries pretty good. Not as good as the next one, or the last one, or was it the next one, whatever it is, but it still works very good, and it covers the knife, so you don't have to worry about snagging or pulling out. This is a great sheath. I'm not sure if this sheath came with the knife or if he got this made separate. No, it came with it. You see the Mora right there. Awesome. All right, next up. Now this one was by far the most enjoyable one. This is a custom fixed blade knife, and I got to check out one other custom fixed blade from him. That's also Timbo's, which is the Little Patriot. I have the review up on my channel. I sharpen it, and this is an awesome little fixed blade. Really nice micarta handles. Now this one's on another level. It has the ferro rod, which I did test in the video. You know what? Let's just get right into testing with it, and then we'll talk about it. So using this knife, it was extremely comfortable in the hand. The way it swells right here, it really has a palm filling grip. And then the right up here, it's round. So it's right where your fingers wrap around. You're really up close and tight to the edge of that blade. Very, very sharp blade. And this LT Wright knife has 01 tool steel. So in the 01 tool steel, I've been impressed with 01 tool steel in the past, and it did not let me down on this case. There was very, very little edge damage after, and it's dropped right out. It does have a lanyard tube, as you can see, and the micarta grip is it's smooth, but you know, as most micarta is, even with smoothness, it's kind of like wood, where it has that little bit of texture, where your skin and the texture of it kind of grip each other. So there is the benefit of that. And then you have the swell right here from it popping out, so you can kind of hook your pinky around that and do little bits of chopping. But yeah, the spine is a perfect thickness. The tip works really good for drilling holes, and man, it just really shaves really good. Push cuts were really good. Just everything about this knife just worked perfectly for bushcraft. I couldn't recommend this knife enough for bushcraft. Now, one of the problems you might have is sharpening it, and I'm just saying that because that's sometimes a lot of people's problems. This isn't just a regular edge. You are, you know, unless if you want to just put a regular edge bevel on here, but otherwise you do the same thing you would do with an edge bevel, except for you just lay your angle back to cover this entire bevel. So you treat this entire edge right here, or angle right here, as the edge bevel. Easy enough, right? It just takes a lot more steel to remove, but either way, I mean, for bushcraft, that's the type of grind you want. I like also that I can use my middle finger and kind of cover this area right there to really get up close. It worked really good with gloves. I did try it out a little bit with no gloves, but you know, it's just so cold outside. And then after, testing it out and seeing how it cut and seeing how it stripped wood and cut notches and, basically just all the little things that I feel like I would do outside, or not all, but some of the things, like some of the notches I would make for or for traps, for making traps, some of the notches I would make for shelter, or for making spikes, or for making tools. It did all of them phenomenally. And then I went on to test the ferro rod out. Now, the ferro rod was pretty new. We'll talk about the sheath here in 1 second, but man, this thing hangs on really good in there. And I did strike it. You could see where I struck it, and it struck really, really good. I struck it in a couple places. Now, afterwards, there was a little bit of spine damage. I don't know about damage, but you could feel like a little burr over the spine. And I just took my ceramic. You can use a ceramic rod or a ceramic plate or anything like that, and you just hit it a couple times, really gently, not too much, and knock it right down. Not a problem, and it took it pretty much right away. This is a 90-degree spine, so it is a nice sharp spine, so it strikes the ferro rod very easily. Like I said, though, it does do a little bit of damage to the spine. This sheath, oh yeah, also, I could have started the fire, but I did not. It's just so wet out there and windy and nasty. I just, I seen how good it struck. I did get an ember going, and then I just kind of gave up when I got an ember going, honestly. And honestly, I had a lighter in my pocket. I could have just lit a fire if I wanted one. I didn't really want a fire. I mostly just wanted to strike it. It was just basically for the visuals. But seeing how fast I got an ember, if I would have tried, like if I would have gathered the right amount of stuff to start a fire, I would have totally got a fire without a problem. This thing strikes very big embers off the ferro rod, or very big sparks off the ferro rod. So you very quickly get an ember with this ferro rod and the spine of this LT Wright. So, but like I said, it does do a little bit of damage on the spine, so you do have to, work around that or tune that up afterwards. The leather sheath works so good, and since it has the hanging loop, it carries so comfortably. You don't have to worry about jamming you in the hip when you sit down, or if you bend down, it just kind of bends down with you, which works really good. I like that. I like that there's nothing like kind of like how this one is, where it's, it does have the loop where it hangs. It does hang, so this one's actually pretty good. Some knives are down here where they sit high, so they actually sit above your belt. This is really nice where it sits nice and low and easy to access. I love this double stitching right here. You can see the stitch work is really, really good. Everything is just top notch from LT Wright. He does amazing work with his fixed blades. So if you want, you're gonna have to spend a little bit more money, but if you want quality, LT Wright is definitely a good way to go. Now let's talk about a couple other little ones really quick. Here's another little one. This is a taupe design. I think it's pronounced taupe. That I tried. Now this one I didn't really enjoy too much. Now I've heard this guy makes incredible knives. This is more of an EDC blade to me. Now I can technically get a 4-finger grip, but my 4th finger is really riding the ass of this thing. So it just, it doesn't, the jimping works good, but for what it's worth, for how small it is, it's a little too thick. This edge is super thick. The spine is pretty thick. And if this edge was a little thinner, it definitely would have bit into things a little bit easier. But, big knives are thinner behind the edge than this thing. So, I mean, this thing would be good as, maybe a scrape, or, I don't know, maybe a little bit of prying, maybe some whittling some holes, stuff like that. If you got a good sharp edge on it, you can maybe field dress an animal, something like that. but it's not going to be a bushcraft knife. Maybe for cutting up your meals or something, you can get by with it. I'm not saying you can't. You can absolutely get by with it. The sheath is very nice too. You can carry it scout. And I think this goes any direction, because I notice that either way I put it in, it doesn't really feel like it matters, but I feel like maybe it just goes that way. Either way, it doesn't matter. You can carry it scout. The sheath is very nice. There's the logo. The logo's badass. The stitch work is really good. I mean, good quality. Good micarta. This is 3V, so this is a very strong steel. And that's another thing. I don't know why they had to make it so thick when it's such a strong steel already. I don't know. But like I said, it will get you by, and it will work. So there you go. And I think this is a custom fixed blade as well. Also, for the price, I think he could have gave a little bit better sharpening choil. I wish he would have just passed that plunge grind right here. I wish the plunge grind wouldn't have landed right on the edge. I mean, it is a fixed blade, but you know, you know, for the price, I just wish it would have been a little bit cleaner right there. Last but not least, this one is an EDC fixed blade, not a bushcraft fixed blade, so I'm going to talk about this a little bit more after sharpening it. The edge it has a nice, deep, tall, hollow grind, so I don't feel like I can do this thing justice in this video, so I'm going to save it for another video. This was actually sent by Casey Tyler, and I do want to give this a little bit better of a video, so I'm going to sharpen it and then do a different video on it. So there you guys go. I love you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It did take a little bit of work, so peace.